All right, welcome back to the Conservation Conversation. This is episode 10, and I'm very, very excited. Today we're going to talk about plastics. We're going to talk about plastics on a global level and on a personal level and how we can create a revolution through our daily routine. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to episode 10. This is really an amazing milestone because, hey, Andrea, thanks for being here today. This is very exciting. This is our 10th episode, and this just started. Actually, let me turn this light down. Okay. Hold on one second. It seems a little bright, huh? Or I look really pale that way. That's probably better. That's better. So anyway, this is a very exciting episode. This is... it started just a little while back where we thought to ourselves, it would be great if we had a place where we could all talk about what's happening in the world around us. And I'm very excited that it has developed into a really great community. We've all been able to share so much information together. And so it's been outstanding. Hey, Coralie. Hey, Bruce. I'm glad everybody's here. These are everybody that I know has been here since the beginning. And I wanted to thank everybody because it's all of us together that make the show happen. And I think that is the key to what we have here. And it's a very special thing. So congratulations, everybody on there. Oh, Fernando from Argentina. Salud, amigo. Fernando and I were in the Amazon together. And Fernando is an amazing conservationist. He works down there a lot. He does a lot of diving in Patagonia. And does a lot to work on nature down in Patagonia and all the issues that they're going on there as well. Hey, Paula, nice to see you. Hey, Inez, good to see you as well. It's so nice. Look at this international crowd right here. We've got people from Argentina, people from all over the world. I would say maybe Germany, Scotland, New Zealand, although possible transplant. So anyway, today what I wanted to talk about, plastics are unavoidable, right? We have so much plastic out there. There's really not much we can do. Actually, I'm going to show a video a little bit later on. I went just to try to go shopping and see how well I could do without plastics. I'll tell you right now, it did not go as smooth as I'd hoped. Anyway, one thing that I wanted to say is that, we have to think about plastics on a global scale and on a local scale, in a personal scale. Hey, Glenn, another amazing clean water activist down in San Diego. And, so the thing is today we're going to talk about what's called a DISPR model, which I'm very excited to share with everybody. I didn't know what they were before, but they give you these amazing ways to get a hold of what's happening, trash-wise, pollution-wise, and start to be able to visualize areas where we could add changes. So we're going to talk about DISPRs. We're going to talk about being an Eco Roomba and leaving the world better than you found it, and how we can affect plastic on a huge level and on a small level. And there are things we don't even think about in plastics. So anyway, before we get on too far, I do want to warn you, normally I always put a quote up at the beginning of the show. I'm going to put this quote up. The image is a little disturbing, but it has to do with what's called ghost fishing gear. And so Scott had brought this up earlier, actually, that, this is a major contributor to pollution. But let's take a look at our quote for today. And it is, "We must remember that in nature there are neither rewards nor punishments. There are consequences." Robert Ingersoll. So I wanted to kind of put that in everybody's mind today. We're not talking about any of our human societal things. We're talking about consequences of our actions and how we can stop those, what's considered upstream, and how we can stop those downstream. As we talked about, we are the moral compass between industry and nature, and we are the ones that have to literally put our wallets and our bodies in between the two to create that moral sliding scale of what we allow companies to do with our nature. And you have to remember, everyone has a power. Everybody has something that they can add and they can change to what we're doing. And, so just to think on a bigger scale like that, we all have power. It's not always what you do in life. It's very often how you do it that actually has the ripples that go around. Now, the very first thing I wanted to bring up is, first of all, when we talk about trash, people automatically sort of think of it as always overseas. Here's an example. This is in the Philippines, and this is a town called Novatos. And this is where it's a very poor fishing village, you know, and it is where a lot of these fishermen struggle to fight with the day-to-day trash in order to continue on. There's no fish there anymore. They now shrimp, what are these teeny, they now just fish for these teeny shrimp and then they make into a paste called bagoong. Anyway, my pronunciation might not be that great, but here's another image of Novatos, and this is a picture I took. Now you can see the entire beach is made of plastic trash. They have no choice because it doesn't come from them. It's not like these 60 people living in squalor in this community are creating this much trash. It comes through the water. So one thing I really wanted to bring up today before we talk too much is that trash is an international problem. The trash in America affects the trash in the Philippines. The trash in, Asia affects the trash in India. I mean, we are all connected. So we need to not think that the Chinese are throwing all the trash in, or the Asian companies, or whatever. The Asian countries. It's somewhat of a convenient way of saying it's not my fault, I didn't do it, and I want to sort of get away from that concept to begin with. It is a very and so even to see that, though, we're now going to kind of explain it. So so what we'll do is actually first I wanted to show you the IUCN report on microplastics in the oceans, which I think is pretty interesting. Now, when you look at this graph, this is going to show you who releases the most kilotons of plastic pollution into the water and why. So you'll see that, for example, India and South Asia, the reason has to do with the population. They're overpopulated. In America, it has to do with affluence. So we are actually the number 2 global release to world oceans. And now we have to think and we have to understand that we are not, we always think it's happening in other countries. But look, North America is in number 2. So I just wanted to really bring that out. Now, places like Africa, where they have actually banned plastics on a lot of senses, those places are doing a lot better. So next part of the report that I found interesting is the equivalent number of grocery plastic bags per capita. Once again, when you get to North America, you'll see there's 150 bags per capita. So this is basically an interesting chart where you can see the usage, and it's the day-to-day usage. I was reading that we use a plastic bag for an average of 12 minutes, and then it lasts for something like a couple hundred years minimum. So now the next one that I wanted to show you guys real fast is the global release again to the world oceans, and this will show you how we have some different we have some different categories here. Now, if you look at the top, you'll see the washing machine is the top left category. The washing machine is because most of our clothing has plastic in it, and a majority of this plastic that's going in from us comes from our laundry. Then you're going to see tires. Now, amazingly enough, tires and road plastics are what leach into the water and destroy things. So, and don't worry, I'm going to put I always put all these pictures up on Conservation Conversations page, so you can always go back and reference these at a later time. But I just wanted to show you. Now comes the trick. This is where we all think about it all the time. When we think now, this is secondary. So what that means is the reason America has a very small amount is that, okay, so the charts before were what are considered primary microplastics, and that means the little balls or the beads, the nurdles, all the things that are used for plastic go right into the ocean directly, or our plastic goes into the ocean, or we put PVC in the ocean, or anything in the ocean. This chart is secondary microplastics, and what that means is after recycling. Now, North America actually ships the majority of its recycling overseas. So I find this chart to be a slight bit deceiving. So I just wanted to throw that out there. We really have to clean up what we're doing here. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up to show you that it is a worldwide issue, and what we need is a worldwide solution, a very big solution. And oh, I see Jared's here. Hup. And hey, Bruce. Hey, Rhonda. Hey, Joanna. I'm glad you guys all could join us. And yeah, Andrea, I agree. It is very sad. It's a very difficult thing to see because it's because of the way that the gyres work and it all goes through there. There's no easy solution for this. Now, what I wanted to talk about real fast before we get into more of this is what's considered a DISPR model. Now, it's fascinating. You guys may already know about this. I didn't know about this. This gives you a way to look at pollution, whether it be plastics or a regular pollution. The D stands for the driving force, which is why it's done. The pressure is the way that it is done, the solution for the driving force. The state is how it leaves the land, and the impact is how it destroys, injures the environment around it. And the R stands for the response. And as you can see in this chart, there's 3 levels of responses. So if the problem is agriculture, the strongest is going to be to stop it at the point and to have them regulated or to have them being watched or to have enforcement. The medium idea would be to try to have them, somehow change, what their limits are for nutrient loads, things like that. And then you have impact, which is how it destroys what is around it. And now the impact is downriver. That's what we see, right? We see that, for example, an example of this is if you were to think about, and I'll show you now, this is an idea for air pollution masks. A lot of people have to wear them, especially my friends down in Florida. So the driver is safety and health, obviously. The pressure is the result of that is the pressure for needing safety and health during especially red tide season is air pollution mask. But the problem is plastic ends up in the waters after all. The impact of that is animal death or plastic pollution. And the response would be some sort of sustainable based air mask, no plastic parts, if we could find a way, and it hasn't been done. And so if you look now between the driver and the pressure, we can apply a solution in the form of manufacturing. Maybe we could change our what we're using. Oh, hey, Tony. Oh, geez. Can you hear me, Tony? Can you hear me now? Sometimes the signal gets a little held up. Okay, glad to know everybody's here. Tony, I'm glad you're here. And hey, Camilla, thank you for joining us from the UK as well. So again, this is, and I'll put all these up, but I just want everybody to think about that. For every aspect of pollution, whether it is the plastics that we are encountering or emissions pollution, this DISPR model will help, and it'll help you envision areas where we can make a difference in between where things happen. So I found it to be extremely useful. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. Again, you guys may have already known about it. I had no idea. Hey, Bruce. I wonder, is my audio okay? I seem to have a signal. I wonder if I see that the internet's kind of going a little wonky right now. So hopefully it'll come back up. Bruce, let me know if you can hear me again. So what I wanted to talk about now is our regular day-to-day usage. So one of the first things I found out that was fascinating is plastic wrap. I mean, plastic wrap is something we have grown up around, I even remember getting my lunch would have potato chips wrapped in plastic wrap. Nobody thought about it in the 80s. It wasn't like a malicious thing. Nobody knew what they were doing. But it's interesting because it was actually created in 1933 by the US military in order to keep moisture away from airplane wings. Now, what I've found fascinating about this is that we use enough plastic wrap to shrink wrap the entire state of Texas. That is really something to consider. That is a lot of plastic wrap. So I found that fascinating, and I wanted to share that with you guys. Now, as we go on, we try to evolve. I mean, we had, for example, but we use chemicals, and once we learn the chemicals are dangerous, they're no good. Now, plastic wrap's a great example. Plastic wrap had very harmful elements to it, And eventually it was forced, and about maybe 15 years ago, they removed those elements from plastic wrap. Plastic wrap's no good for anybody. Recommendation, use aluminum foil if you can, or glass jar, glass Tupperware. There are a lot of options that'll be way more sustainable and will continue in a better fashion. So, yeah, it does seem like we're having a tough signal here today, everybody. Hopefully it'll come back here in a second. I see it's it's getting a little saucy. All right. So I'm going to talk to, this is Marty, if you guys can see him. This is my show's producer. So he's over at the helms right now. Hey Marty, can you up our CPU usage a little bit? We would like to have a cleaner video, please. So he's been good. He's been producing since the first show. And he and I have been working as a team for about 10 years. But this is our first podcast together. So anyway, I just wanted to share Marty with you guys. And oh yeah, I can see that the signal's really rough today. So now, as we were talking about, there was things like asbestos. Well, guess what? Asbestos turned everything to cancer. Things like No Stick from DuPont. And if you have not seen The Devil We All Know, watch that documentary. It's incredible. If you want to learn more about how those things can hurt you, go to fightforzero.org and check out that website. I will put the link after the show. It is amazing. But we knew we had to change all these things, right? We learned, basically the problem is these companies throw these chemicals out there. We all use them for mass consumption, assuming everything's okay, to find out that we're getting cancer and we've been poisoned from these things. So one of the main things that I find disturbing is that we used to use lead pipes and lead paint. And that, look at Flint, right? But we also have another issue, which is they've all been replaced by PVC. So thank you, Joanna. Marty, Joanna says you're doing a great job. Rhonda says hi. All right, he says, Gah. So that's directly from Marty. So we he's a little camera shy. I was trying to get him on, but he's busy. He's working on trying to fix the signal right now. I see that it's sticking. And listen, everybody, if you're having a hard time seeing it on Facebook, always remember that you can go to YouTube. Go to my YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and type my name, Eric E. Crown. You'll see my channel. Click subscribe, click the bell, and you'll always get a notice that I'm there. And YouTube does not really stick. It's a Facebook issue, and I'm thinking about moving from Facebook to YouTube entirely. So that's another discussion. So anyway, let's go back to a big problem we're facing now is PVC pipes. So PVC pipes are, let's bring these up. PVC pipe is a very, very dangerous chemical. Now, a lot of times in plumbing, it's been used. I'm going to turn mine off. Let's see. Okay. So, here we go. All right. So anyway, PVC pipe is now used mostly for plumbing. So we've gone from lead pipes to PVC pipes, and this is no good. Now, PVC is a very dangerous chemical. It is a mix of all the stuff you do not want. Everything listed in here about PVC pipe is toxic. And PVC, we use it for pipes, vinyl, flooring, siding, hoses, cable coatings, medical devices, plumbing, which means that this PVC pipe is bringing your water into your house. And if the PVC pipe is bringing the water into your house, it could chip off and it could create microplastics. Now, every time this PVC pipe chips, all these toxins open up like a little explosion of toxins. So just something to consider. Hopefully my signal's getting a little better. You guys able to hear me out there? Hopefully it's coming through now. So PVC pipe is very dangerous and it's very toxic to children. I don't know why PVC pipe has become such a popular thing, but it is no good and you should not have it anywhere. And the problem is we're doing our plumbing with it, and we're doing other things with it, and we're trying to use it in our environments. And to have PVC piping in our environments is opening the door to having a lot of issues. Once we have PVC problems, they're gonna, like I said, they're gonna chip off, and all these toxins are gonna go flying everywhere. So, oh, good. Okay, Bruce switched over to YouTube. Yeah, Bruce, huh? It's so much better on YouTube, everybody. If you have the chance, please go ahead and switch over. So today we don't have any guests. Today we're just going to be if anybody wants to Skype in and talk to me, it's my name, Eric E. Crown at protonmail.com. Feel free to Skype me. I would love to have anybody talk. If not, let's just all talk right here on the chat. Because what we're going to do now is, now that we've talked about some of these issues, we've talked about the DISPR model. We've talked about the fact that we are a major user of plastics. We've talked about the idea that there's multiple ways to attack it. Big problems is that these companies that produce these plastics do not have to be responsible for the recycling, which is an extra amount of cost, right? I mean, recycling centers keep closing because of the cost. So the manufacturers, they can sell it for like 2 cents a pound or whatever, but the actual cost that we pay for at the end of it as taxpayers that have to clean this up turns out to be closer to like $5 a pound. So we are helping them benefit, profit, and do everything that we can. Hey, Eric, glad to see you here. Eric is another, and Tony's good. Okay, thank you guys. Sheila, hey Mari. It's so nice to see everybody here. Hey, Colleen, oh my gosh, I didn't even see everybody had joined. I had to check. Hey, everybody, I'm glad to see everybody here. So, yeah, so we have these issues. Now, there are a lot of ways that it's unavoidable. And this is going to be our plastic challenge this week. We're going to have a couple different videos and challenges that we're going to try. Because in plastics, we can't help it. I mean, for example, think about medicines. You can't go buy a medicine you need to sustain your life. It comes in plastic. You can't, you're not able to make those kind of adjustments. So in a way, it's unfair to think that we hold the whole burden. We don't hold the whole burden. We hold, hey, Michelle's here. Hey, Michelle, thanks for joining us. And yeah, so, we really need to think about that. We need to find ways to hold companies accountable. And at the very end of the show, we will talk about some ways. Now, we've talked about the big scale. We've talked about the fact that we in the US here are actually responsible for a lot of the plastic problem, even though in memes and stuff, it always shows it as being something coming from a poor Asian country. It's kind of xenophobic that we do that. And we need to take in our own trash problems, take in our own plastic problems, and deal with them. Now, we have ways, we have petitions, we have ways we can demand companies stop making plastics. One of the nicest things is we can make our changes on our own. Now, I'm not saying that that's not important, trust me. We need to make all of our changes on our own. And that's what this week is going to focus on. We are going to focus on positive ways to move forward, positive ways to live, positive solutions, so that we don't have to end up, being so stuck with all these things. Now, here's the other problem. For example, let's talk about packaging. Things have to come in packages. We're all familiar with these things from, all of your fruit, right? So when you have all your fruit, you have these little PLU numbers. And this lady is really fun. She actually does them, and she repurposes them, which I think is fun. So like there's a thing that she had her kid make. So, the idea of taking what is there and repurposing it. I like this one. I think this one's pretty funny. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because, that is, let's see, where am I? That is something that we all need to think about as well. So, when you're buying fruit, they have these now. Fascinating, interesting fact. That PLU number is universal. everywhere in the world you go, you're going to find plastic on fruits. I believe New Zealand banned them. Coralie will know for sure and maybe correct me, but I do believe New Zealand banned them. Hey, Mitch, I'm glad you joined as well. Good to see you here, man. Yeah, so these are all the things that we need to fight. Now, we need to think about it in the term of the manufacturers, or what is called the upstream. And then us as the citizens are what's called downstream. So the creation of the plastics, the use of the plastics, the discharging of the plastics, the pollution of the plastics, and then what's considered a downstream solution, which we all have to partake in. We all need to be doing beach cleanups. We all need to take care of our plot of land, because at the moment, these companies are not being forced to. We can force them to. We are the majority. We are there, but we need to be more conscious about plastics. It's something that we talk about all the time, whether it is, the vegan community that is not stopping plastic use. That's an important thing. We have to do that. We all need to make changes across the board, no matter how you think you're contributing to nature. If you are using plastic, and I know we have to sometimes, but every one piece you use, you're creating part of the problem for the future generation. Plastic, you bury it, it doesn't go anywhere. It's not going to grow anything. It's just going to be there for your great grandkids to have to figure out why they have a higher cancer rates. What's leaching into the ground? Well, what's leaching into the ground is all these toxins that create plastic. Plastic is a heated mix of multiple polymers. And these polymers, most of them are toxic. It's called a toxic cocktail, actually, by a lot of scientists. So there's nothing good about it. And I know it's really difficult, but we have to find ways to change it. Okay, Coralie agrees. Yes, New Zealand is very progressive. They've gotten rid of those stupid little stickers. I just had an apple before I started this, and there it was, the sticker. And I thought, I don't know what to do with this thing. Obviously, the number one solution is farmers markets, but those aren't always available. And that's one thing I want to mention too. When it comes to plastics, some of us have the option to buy non-plastic things, but we have to remember that if we have that option, let's take that option, because we can have that option. There are a lot of communities that live in food deserts that do not have that option. They have to go to McDonald's. They have to go to Burger King. They don't have groceries. I've lived in these places in LA. I don't know if it's the same around the world, but there are radius areas that are called food deserts. And those communities don't have access to farmers markets. They don't have access to fresh food. They very much live off prepared food, which generally tends to be in plastics. And I saw this in small islands that had 20 people living on them in the middle of the Philippines, and I've seen it in Los Angeles. So in my experience, it is a worldwide issue, and there's not much people can do about it, except think different and demand change, which we can do. And like Mitch says, we the people are powerful, 100%. We look at what's happening right now with all these protests kicking off everywhere. Whether people agree with them or don't agree with them, it doesn't matter. It's making the conversation happen. And that's why I like the podcast and I like all this, because we need to have conservation conversations. We need to come together under all of our umbrellas and think sustainability. Like I had talked about in future podcasts, when my friend that was Iroquois said that they think 7 generations ahead and make all decisions based on that. We need to rethink that way a little bit. Michelle, someone sent us a good vegan recipe for Rights of Nature event for Inglewood Beach. Ooh, nice. Okay, there you go. That sounds great. Keep me up on that, Michelle. That sounds great. Rights of Nature, by the way, everybody. I will put a link, or if anybody can throw a link here right on the Facebook that people can click over to. I don't have access while I'm doing this live. I can't type into the Facebook, but the Rights of Nature movement is a fantastic movement. It is a big movement that's trying to give legal rights to pieces of nature. And if that sounds strange to you, just remember that Citizens United passed, and that gave corporations the same rights as citizens, if not more. And so if corporations are allowed to have the same rights as citizens, nature needs the same rights as citizens, because citizens don't have the same rights as corporations. So there we are. Yes, exactly. Every time I go into a convenience store, they try to place my couple items in plastic bags. Exactly. Mitch, do you guys have paper bags where you guys live? We like here we have paper or plastic. Now, this is something interesting. Is these plastic bag bans. Now, I don't want to speak negatively of it, but I will say my experience in Los Angeles is that there is a trick in the law that I think is sneaky. And please correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody argue with me if they think that there's another way to view this. I think it's a wonderful concept, but I feel like what happened is they tricked us because in Los Angeles, it is single-use plastic bags only, meaning they stopped this. The manufacturers stopped making single-use plastic bags, started making multi-use plastic bags, which are 3 times as thick, so they don't break down as easily. The idea is that people will reuse them, which is absurd because they reuse them the same as they reuse the single plastic bags. Now the stores also charge us 10 cents, whether we want a plastic bag or a paper bag. No matter what people choose, they're being charged. So in Los Angeles, even though we had a plastic bag ban, we basically just ended up getting charged 10 cents a bag. We still have plastic bags everywhere. It's just that they're thicker. They're not going to break down anytime soon. They're not, it's not a, it just does. I mean, it was like great idea, but man, did it fall apart. Like at least out here, it's kind of scammy. So I don't know what's up with other places. This again, just speaking for Los Angeles. And yeah, exactly. Good. Mitch says we use reusable when we need. Perfect. Yeah, I always take my bags with me. You know, you can buy great reusable bags. You know, I haven't really done it yet, but I've been trying to talk to a company that makes really sustainable bags and trying to make some conversation bags. So if you guys might think it would be interesting to do that, I was going to try to put a few together for like a giveaway because I want to encourage everybody to use it. But that's the thing is we have a situation where they are asking us to do all the work, but we need them to do some of the work too. So this brings me to the second part of our thing, which is what are we going to do? How are we going to be Eco Roombas? How does our daily routine turn into revolution, right? Because that's what it is. It's our daily routine is all about creating change. And a lot of us are very conscious of this. A lot of us are, you know, this is what we focus on the most is our personal thing, because that's what we really need to do. Now, before we get into it, I will say that Scott had made an amazing observation earlier that abandoned, lost, discarded fishing gear, it's called ALDFG, is a big problem in the oceans. Now, this comes from overfishing. And bringing this up, and I'm not trying to upset anybody that is a fisherman or is even a commercial fisherman. Or even now, commercial fishermen. I'm talking about when I was in Philippines, we stopped a boat that was taking 60 million tons of fish from tribal ancestral waters a day. And I know it seems like, wow, that's a lot. But the problem is that fish is going to other countries. That over 80% of fisheries have collapsed. And when those fisheries collapse, the countries now have to go out to other countries and illegally fish, take everything and bring it back, all to feed this insatiable thirst for fish. Now, you know, I was on islands where people just fished and ate fish and rice, and that's their livelihood. But the problem is those massive commercial ships that we shut down when I was over there are taking what little resources these people do have, creating more food insecurity and more food issues, which ultimately leads to more plastic. So it's such a connected web, you know. But one thing to think about is all of this fishing gear, which Scott brought up. Not only does it entangle tons of animals, which is a massive issue, but it also breaks down and creates secondary microplastics in the breakdown process. And they have found in the gyres that there are tons of these fishing gear. There have been some attempts to try to regulate fishing gear, but it hasn't happened yet. So it's something difficult. You know, Scott had brought up earlier on the post, that, one solution is people that go vegan no longer are contributing to that. It's a difficult topic, and it's a difficult thing, to have like maybe a single bullet, silver bullet solution for it. But just know that the fishing industry itself is doing what's called fish fraud. I'll give you one good example that I know from an actual diver where, and a lot of you may already know this, we've already talked about this, but what they'll do is they'll catch stingrays or skates, and they'll use cookie hole punchers to create scallops. So unless you're buying diver scallops, you're probably going to have uniform shape. And if you are, you're actually eating stingray wing or bat ray wing. It's part of the fish fraud. Colombia's fishery has collapsed for catfish. They actually steal all the catfish now from Brazil. And the people in Colombia don't even know. And they're going in, and then they're killing pink dolphins as well to use as bait to catch more catfish and bring those catfish to Colombia, to make people in Colombia think they're eating a different catfish. So, this is a major issue, and we need to not so much defend everybody's choice of whether they're going to eat fish or not, but we need to look at a realistic possibility of how the fisheries are collapsing. And if it continues this way, nobody's going to have the conversation of if they eat fish or not. There is not going to be any. And if the fisheries collapse, the oceans will collapse, because there's so much going on. I mean, anyone who's a diver out there knows. You can watch it when you go and you descend and you're down there. You see a whole world. You see the ecosystem, microcosmos. This guy's cleaning this guy, and this guy's looking pretty to try to meet the girls, and this one's raising a family, and everything in nature is part of a huge link and part of a huge chain. And unfortunately, humans kind of act like endocrine disruptors. We sort of come in, and that's our thing. We're people have said it before. We are somewhat the virus, but from the virus comes the antidote. And so the people that don't care, they are the virus. People like us, people like you all here, this is the antidote. We are the ones that need to come in and combat that. Fish fraud is actually, it's another project I want to work on, because my friends out there that do eat fish, be careful. Not only is there microplastics in it from all that discarded fishing gear, but there's microplastics from our pollution. There's microplastics from our recycling attempts, from our spills at sea. Every time a cruise ship crashes, 1 billion pieces of plastic go into the ocean. They don't pay for that. We do. So just like we know how to hold politicians accountable, we need to hold plastic companies accountable. Who are the plastic companies? Not one person can really name me plastic company, because we think of Nestle, for example, but they buy the plastic nurdles. We think of Coca-Cola, but they buy the plastic nurdles. I reached out to the Plastics Council 4 times now to ask them to have somebody talk to us and explain to us what they're doing. I understand they're trying to make some changes, but it doesn't have to be this way. There are places like Kenya that have literally outlawed plastic manufacturing, and it's worked out beautifully. So, we just need to try to be as progressive. And there's a lot of countries in Africa that are doing it. One of my favorite stories there is in one of the villages where they don't have a lot of light. What they've done is take all this recycle. This guy opened his own recycling facility, and I'll put a link down how you can open your own too, actually. It's kind of amazing. It's open source information. Everybody can do it. But this guy turned his plastics, he recycled them, and he turned them into backpacks. And inside of the backpacks were solar-powered light panels. And he gave them away to kids so that the kids in this village could read and do their homework, because when the lights went out, when the sun went down at night, they couldn't do homework. So, we're stuck with the plastic we have, but what that guy did is amazing. We can do that too. He's the change. We all need to find a way to be somehow on our level, however that may be. Anyway, so plastics, here we are. Okay, so here we did. I'm going to show you guys a quick video that I made. This video, I just decided to real quick when I was going shopping to just grab my normal stuff and see what kind of plastics I could get a hold of and what kind of plastics I encountered in my day-to-day life. And this is going to kick off our plastics challenge. I'm going to give the signal. I know this signal is a little dodgy. Again, if you guys are on Facebook and you're having a hard time with the signal, please go to YouTube, type in my name. You'll find my Eco Films channel, and you should be live there. And everything should be very clear there. Facebook, without getting too in depth, Facebook has its own processors that complicate the use of what I'm doing with the studio. So, okay, so guys, hopefully you can see this. All right, here we go. So I'm going to attempt now to show a video. Hopefully it'll go smooth. And this is my journey to try and go shopping. And let's see what you guys think. All right, day one of the plastic challenge. I'm about to go shopping and gonna take a look at what I usually buy and see if there are non-plastic or compostable versions. And Ralph's is just a regular grocery chain. It's not a specialty food store or anything, which I may have to end up going to. We'll see how this goes. All right, let's see what happens, and let's see how much plastic we can navigate around and how much plastic we have to use. Problem number one, all the carts have plastic on the handles. So, although not preferable, they're borrowing it, I'm not buying it. So we will take a cart, even though step one, already plastic involved. These are my favorites. Can't buy those today. Alright, there is literally plastic on everything here. Okay, hopefully it'll come back on here. Including beans, which I really was hoping I could buy today. This one looks like it's plastic. It's plastic. So, there's no natural cloth options available here. So that would leave me just with instant rice. So for oats, there's a problem. They all have these plastic pots. Oh no. Yeah, you get any of the vegan stuff, it's all wrapped. And the tofu's all wrapped. Plastic bottles are just hot. And this whole, everything's plastic. Pumpkin's delicious, but then you gotta have plastic. You see these, it's like, wait a second. Silicone straws, they're in plastic. The silicone's not a bad alternative. Same with stainless steel, but then they have plastic tips and they're in plastic. So definitely grab one of these. Don't need one of those. This section is made for me here. I'll just grab the promo and some avocado. Alright, so today's loot didn't do too well. Got some waters, which I said are okay because they're all recyclable, and then aluminum cans, which are 100% recyclable. And I came up with one bag of stuff. Some instant rice, some olives, and dog food, and basically just loose things, you know. I can't say that I did that well, so we're going to try to go to like a natural foods market and see if we can find some more food that doesn't have the plastic packaging around it, because this is not going to be enough to eat for the day. So anyway, interesting first step. And of course, as I was saying, the truck has a plastic lining on the bed, so automatically we would be without a truck, without a cell phone, and without some other things if we were to completely stop using plastics. And maybe that's something we need to demand from the makers of these products. Okay, so a few of the things that surprised me in the grocery store was, the first one was carrots. All the carrots were either wrapped in plastic or had a rubber band around them. So the carrots were off the list. The second difficulty was spinach. They had spinach only in plastic and also wrapped with rubber bands and plastic. So there was that aspect to it. I found that a lot of the vegetables that I usually buy, I couldn't buy unless they were just pure raw, come in their own wrapper. Because once you get away from a natural wrapper, you end up with all these plastics. The regular grocery store, pretty much a fail. Didn't really walk out with too much except for some olives, a little bit of instant rice, and a couple fruits and veggies. So, but hey, in the end, that's all you need. One thing I do need to find is beans. I need to find beans that don't come in plastic. So I hope everybody's having a great day. Thank you for joining me with the Plastic Challenge, day 1. And we're looking forward to day 2 tomorrow and see what we can find at a natural food store. And then we're just going to keep our journey going and see how difficult or how convenient it is to live in a plastic world. Okay, so there we have it. Obviously, a bit of a challenge. Now, I mean, the first things I noticed is that my truck has plastic, so that's a no-go. My glasses are made of plastic. That's a no-go. I couldn't even use my cell phone because honestly, that's got plastic all over it too. So, and like Mitch said, the metal cans are lined with plastic. And looking at the video again, I just now realized I have plastic on the fruit. So I actually invalidated my own challenge and I did it wrong. So now I have to be twice as conscious. So this is going to require a way to go back to the store. Tony, yes. Hey, the car's still driving super smooth. That's it. But yeah, it's so what I'm going to do is, and what I'd like to ask everybody to join me in, let's try to do this plastic challenge together. So here's the thing. It's obviously impossible to live without plastic. I mean, you can't, I mean, here's the goal. Here's the thing. So the idea is, let's see how much plastic we're stuck with, how much plastic we can choose. And that'll give us a better bearing on how much plastic and where we need to make our changes. Going back to that DISPR model, where's the most amount of plastic? So for example, if a plastic bag, I don't have to buy one. I can take my own reusable bags. I can use paper bags. So we can easily extinguish them if we just stopped using them. That's not an essential. Medicine, I brought up medicine before. Medicine comes in plastic bottles. You can't stop using your, yeah, exactly. That's the thing, is plastic is everywhere. But what we need to do is find ways to demand change. So, one great example are plastic bottles. There are still countries that don't use plastic bottles. They use glass bottles and they get recycled. And it's a system that works just fine. We're allowing a few small companies to make decisions about our health based on their profit margin. And this is where we need to make our change. And this is where we're seeing a waking up across the board of everybody. So I think let's do it. Let's give it a try. What I'd be curious is if everybody would join me in next time you go to the store, just take a photo of 5 things that you normally would buy that you're going to not buy because of plastic. And I'm just curious, out of those 5 things, if there's an alternate solution that you can find at another store, or if it's just something we're stuck with. Because the things we're stuck with, we need to demand change. The things we can change, we can do it on our own. But we have to think in both terms. It's of course it's us, but it's also them. It is the manufacturers, it is the companies, it is the fact that there's no recycling going on. It's Camilla says these giant corporations make it almost impossible for us, but we can do it. When we stop buying, supply and demand becomes obvious. Exactly, that's the thing. If we just stop using these plastic bags, they will eventually stop making them because they're not going to make their profit margin. All companies think is profit margin. So that's where we really are. We are their companies. We are everything for them. They have to listen to us. And I know it's impossible to say, just stop buying plastic bottles, stop buying plastic water. But as time goes on, that is growing and growing and growing. People are learning that. Bruce, I know I could do better. I buy too much stuff wrapped in plastic. Bruce, we all do. That's the thing. I mean, it's really hard. Great example is, like, let's say you're at the grocery store and you're vegan, you want to eat a fruit salad. it's going to come in plastic. So, we have to. But here's the thing: it is us, but it's also other companies. I'm not going to name this group. It's an NGO, and they sell T-shirts as a way to make a lot of money for themselves at public events. They have booths everywhere, and they sell T-shirts. But all the T-shirts come wrapped in rubber bands. And one of my first things when I volunteered for this organization, I was just very briefly there, was to make sure that all the rubber bands were on all the T-shirts, and it was just about fundraising, but they littered so many rubber bands, and I thought, how can we do this? It's a tricky one. There's no easy answer, but I just ask that everybody think sustainably, past whatever your beliefs are in any other way. Whether you eat meat or you're a vegan, what's your plastic? Are you buying steak wrapped in plastic? Are you buying tofu wrapped in plastic? I don't care. You're still buying plastic. That's where we're being divided, and we need to be united. We need to reunify. We need to remember that they're having us divide. And even though we're very different, this is an umbrella we can all come together underneath of. Because plastic is just, and it is pervasive. I was reading that there's so much plastic that there's going to be, like they have all these different layers of the earth. Well, when in a couple hundred years, they're expecting one of the layers to be fully made of plastic because of all of our landfills. And, our idea is we throw it in the ocean or we smash it and put it in the ground. I would recommend, or I would say that we need to think about holding these companies more accountable. They can't just create a literally toxic chemical and release it into us with no responsibility at all. Just like DuPont did with their no stick. We need to think about it on other levels. Think about your PVC. Think about your PVC piping. I don't know what the solution is. I know that it's used in houses everywhere, but it leaches toxic chemicals. PVC leaches toxic chemicals. PVC should never be used in an environment where children will be present. Because PVC, once it leaches or it cracks, it can be the sun hitting it that makes it leach. It can be actual, something in there that just sort of chips it off a little bit, and then it just explodes all these toxins out. And these toxins are so dangerous. So, it's just something to consider. We are surrounded. There's invisible plastic everywhere. Next week, I also want to talk about Halloween's coming up. Halloween, when we were kids, or when I was a kid, I'm 46. When I was a kid, Halloween mostly consisted of costumes, vinyl siding. Yes, Mitch. Vinyl siding is another very bad one. We're living in toxic environments. And think about Halloween, we used to do costumes, like once I was Indiana Jones or something, and I had to put on like a hat and a thing, and that was it, and then eventually plastic masks became popular. Now there's rubber and plastic masks everywhere that people buy for like a one-time use. I don't go to many people's houses and see all their Halloween masks like on display or being held for the next year. It's a one-shot deal. Not to mention the atrocity of the little bite-sized candies. You just imagine all of that. There's so many wrappers now just to push diabetes. I don't know. Sorry. I don't know if anybody has kids and maybe they see it differently, but I think it's a bad holiday in that sense. We have plastic, rubber masks. We have single servings, chocolates. So we have, no matter which side of it you're looking at, the end result is going to be an insane amount of pollution. So that is, I think, one thing that if, any parents that are watching, please consider, consider that for Halloween. Consider how you're going to tackle that, if there is a way to tackle that. See, that's it, Mitch. That's the way to do it. Make your own. Exactly. It's more fun. It's more involved. It's part of our nonstop culture. Sorry, I wanted to actually just bring back up this PVC again. So I wanted to bring this PVC up again because I just wanted to really drive home that this stuff is everywhere. And PVC is a great example of the danger of convenience. And the danger of convenience, what's killing us. For example, what I would say is, as far as the plastic man, see, that would be it. Unfortunately, that'd be the new creature from the Black Lagoon. He would just be covered in plastic bottles and fishing nets and stuff. Actually, kind of gave me a good eco idea for a Halloween costume, Mitch. I like that, Plastic Man. But if we think about it, we were talking about that. I was talking about this with a friend earlier. Our societies are set up so that we get very little time to ourselves. You get a half hour for lunch, you get an hour for lunch. Generally, people are going to go. They're going to go to a drive-through. They're going to get back. They're thinking about making it through their days. Time is tight. When you get home from work, there's a lot going on. You don't have hours to search stuff on Google. It's not easy to find plastic alternatives. There's a lot, and so people we have been forced into a situation where being considerate of our own health has become secondary to the need for making commerce happen. And we need to remember to take time for ourselves. And we need to remember that this is also part of it, health, food. This is all, it all blends in. Convenience equals plastic. You may have a more inconvenient experience if you want to drink some water and maybe you have to go find a water fountain. The thing is it's, and like you saw in the video, if you don't go prepared, it's kind of difficult because the world is not set up for a plastic-free world, because we are only starting to demand a plastic-free world. I mean, Saran wrap came out in 1944. Plastic bottles came out in the 50s. Think about that. Like, plastic bottles are about as old as Elvis, the concept of Elvis, right? There was thousands of years before Elvis. People did it. Everything was fine. Nobody died from dehydration. Well, I'm sure people died from dehydration, but it wasn't like a common, society. It was like, what are we going to do? We can't bring the water somehow from the source to the people. There's always solutions. Glass is a much overlooked, amazing thing. And so anyway, I'm definitely hoping, I'm going to make some more videos this week of trying to live plastic free in a plastic world. And again, the idea is, let's take a look at what plastics we can change, what plastics they need to change, what plastics we demand they change, and where can we make those changes. If we ever find an opportunity where we can get rid of some plastic output, that's exactly what we need to do. That is critical to our survival and our future. And again, I ask that everybody from every advocacy aspect keep sustainability in the back of their mind, because it's something that we talk about a lot, but we only talk about it from our perspective, and it's a perspective of everybody. You know what? And it's true. I mean, if you do go vegan, you will use less resources. If you don't go vegan, then please don't buy meat wrapped in plastic. There's a lot of considerations. So again, this isn't about veganism per se, but I think that, like I said, whether you're buying meat or you're buying soy, if it's in plastic, you're killing the environment. So we can all make that big change. We can all do that. We all pick up plastic, but we have to really be conscious of how much of a plastic user we are per day. And that's where we come back to your daily routine becomes a revolution. What you do, how you think, the way you approach the world, the way you see it, will change everything. For me, the idea of going to buy something in a fast food place is very foreign. If I'm hungry, I will go look for a place where I can just grab an apple and eat it. It's a very natural wrappers and things. So the way you eat does change the way that you live, but also, most importantly, for most of us, plastic is a decision we make in the grocery store. That's where plastic is. I mean, we don't, nobody is ever like, I need this plastic now. So it's there, but it's also in storage containers. It's It's in everything. So, you know, yeah, this is our plastic challenge. So, just plastic bottle. See, that's awesome. Mitch says, number of kids that come to the house, they say the water got hot in the plastic bottle. I remind them of the cup of ice. Exactly. Old school. I mean, really, what's better? You make the ice, you put the water in it. It's just like, you see it condense. It's a perfect experience. You'll love it. So, yeah, so hopefully everybody will join me this week. Like I said, when you go shopping next time, just take a picture of the 5 things that you're going to forego by this shopping trip and see what kind of impact that has. It makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference. And all of us are, like I always say, you know, we are the problem, but we're also the answer. And I'm going to put some links at the bottom of this podcast also for alternatives to what's going on, you know, alternatives to plastics. So there's lots of alternatives. For example, I buy my soap. It's a vegan soap called Dr. Bronner's, but I don't buy it in the plastic bottles. You can buy the bar soap, and it comes in. It's just recyclable, recyclable paper. There are forks, spoons, knives made out of bamboo. There's a lot of alternatives. So if it's, you know, and I even say use, you know, it's okay to use things like paper plates. As long, you know, try not to get the ones coated in plastic. Again, very difficult. But, you know, they grow, they have managed forests for paper production. They don't have any managed anything for plastic production. You know, in the 80s, somebody brought this up on the thing too. In the 80s, there was a big campaign saying that we were killing everything by using paper and that plastic would save the environment and save the world. So my generation grew up thinking that. We all thought, if you use paper, man, you're going to kill, you know, the rainforest or whatever. But I saw plastic bottles in the rainforest, and those are what's killing the rainforest. Plastic. So please put in any links, any suggestions you guys have that we can maintain ways to approach, become personal Eco Roombas and leave the world better than we found it. Find ways to ditch plastics in our day-to-day life, and let's find out where the major problems are, and let's hit them. You know, let's go at it. If you know, I currently have a petition going on to try to stop plastic bottling, which is a very simple request, a major request, but a simple request nonetheless. And it's something that could reduce our plastic waste by 70 to 80%. Just that one thing. So let's look at the source of the problem. And we do understand we live in a plastic world, but we do need to find ways to, one, reduce our personal footprint, but also make these companies address our concerns. And whether we do it through our pocketbook, through petitions, through protests, there's a lot of ways. And so again, I wanted to thank everybody for joining today. Today was a great episode. It was really fun to get everybody. Oh my gosh, Camilla just brought up. Oh wait, First Mitch says vegetarian gravy, it tastes like meat, it's not wrapped in plastic. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm going to look into that, Mitch. Camilla might know too, because Camilla is vegan and has to kind of find ways to work around that also. And balloons, Camilla brings up balloons, right? They release them into the atmosphere. They travel, they break, they end up killing our wildlife. Balloons, masks, this store called Party City is like the an environmentalist nemesis. You walk in and you're like, no, because all there is balloons and plastic. Glitter is a major problem. Please do not buy glitter. Do not buy anything that's been bedazzled. Don't bedazzle. Those are pieces of plastic. None of that is good for the environment. None of it's going to stay on your thing. I don't mean to offend anybody whose hobbies are bedazzling or whatever, but please, if you are an environmentalist, think about these little things that we don't think about, because they're the tricky ones that slip by. Glitter is a major source of pollution. Bedazzled little beads and stuff. It's just not, kids love using those. Is there any alternatives? There's got to be alternatives. I don't know. I grew up with Lincoln Logs, which, looking back, were mean, they weren't maybe that exciting, but you know, they had a limited time. You could play with Lincoln Logs, but like Mitch says, be yourself. Be yourself, exactly. And Michelle, thanks for being here today with us. Camilla, thank you for bringing up some of the problems and some of the possible options. And you're right, Mitch. If you're not yourself, you're being fake. And, you know, it's an amazing time. It's an amazing period where we're going from certain people having a voice to everyone being able to have a voice on social media. So don't think about the cults of personality and all these different movements. Think about what you want for your kids, your grandkids, your dog, your cat, your bearded dragon. Think about any of them and the generations and their kids. And think about everything that we have to think about 7 generations ahead and make a decision that you can live with the best. And we all have to navigate this the best way that we can. And we all have our own way that we approach life in our best personal ethics. And that's what improves every generation. So, and thank you guys for being here for this conversation. It has been really incredible today. Amazing suggestions. And Mitch, we're going to look into some options, especially with these holidays coming up. We need to find some plastic options. So, oh, hey guys. Sorry, I got some some cats fighting here. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to say thank you. And thanks for being here. This is a very special one. This is our 10th episode. And it is our community. It is Mitch and Bruce and Camilla and Michelle and Andrea and, you know, a lot of others, Joanna. We see the same names over and over, Rhonda and Molly and Jared and Tony. All of you are people that I've had the privilege of getting to meet or know personally. All of you are extremely conscious. It is just a treat to be able to talk to you guys every week and to have this community to have this spirit here to explore all these different topics, all these different solutions, and all these different problems. Because as a group, I think we're also better problem solvers. I certainly don't have answers. I have way more questions than others, and probably will my whole life, and I hope so. And yes, Mitch, we the people. Exactly. I think Mitch had said, we the people are pissed off. So yes, we the people. Remember, guys, we are 99.9%. They are 1%. These companies, they can be stopped. They can be changed. They can be approached. They can be altered. We have seen a few people stand up. It's not easy, but as a group, we're going to do it. So thanks for everybody for being here. I can't wait to talk to you next week. Oh, by the way, big announcement. Next week, we're going to go to Saturday. So Sunday, I've been talking to a lot of people, and Sundays are very difficult for everybody. So we're going to move it to Saturday, same time, in the hopes that more of my friends that wanted to join can join with us. And yes, excellent, Mitch. Oh, Mitch, yeah, I would love to have you on as well. And I know, Mitch, when I talked to you last time, there was a couple other issues in Florida too that we want to explore. And hey, everybody, please also, if you have a topic you're passionate about, send it to me or put a comment. Tell me the topic. You want to be a guest? Tell me. Be on Skype. You know, this is the beauty of it, is we're all experts in our own passions, in our own experiences, in our own worlds. And we need to bring all that together, because together we are a collective encyclopedia of knowledge that can't be stopped. I know we quoted it last time when Kenny was on the show, but like Peter Tosh said, it's the truth, and it gets transmitted from people to people, and you can't stop that. And I think that's really amazing about the time we live in now. We can control our own destiny in our own time. Exactly. We are going to stick together, yes. And chemical spraying, yeah, that's got to be. Let's do a show on that, actually, because that's another aspect that we haven't done. So, Mitch, I'm going to hit you up about that. We're going to talk to some people down there. And Sherry, thank you. I didn't see you on there before. Thanks for being on, Sherry. And again, you know, I always bring it up. Florida is an amazing example of what happens when people come together and demand change. We are the sliding scale of morality between business and our world. And I'm glad to see it, because It's very inspiring. I mean, everybody has a passion to make a change. So thanks everybody, and hope you guys have a great week. Think about your plastics. Let me know how that's going. I'm really curious, and we'll do a post where everybody can put up what their plastic experience is. And I'm just curious to see what we all go through. So thank you all very much for joining. It is always an absolute amazing. My favorite part of every Sunday is getting to talk to everybody. And this is great. So thanks for joining, and I can't wait to see you next week. It's our world. Let's talk about it.